Well, the Democrats' way of running this country is to go tell us sacrifices. God, they're great on that stuff. But they're all going to have us over the hill to the poorhouse. We ain't going to be able to drive over there because we ain't got no gas, so we're going to have to walk it. My whole point is this whole thing with the energy and everything. This is all a conspiracy. Don't you know that? It's a conspiracy there. Listen, for years, all our lives, they've been telling us to go out and buy stuff that use energy. You know, all electrical stuff. Then you got electric toasters, electric ovens, electric stove, electric stereo, electric TV, electric race, electric hair blower, electric knives, electric every damn thing. Not to mention the cars. And now, after all the big corporations there make the billions and billions of dollars worth of profits, signals, wham, they're changed. And after telling us for years that we can't live without this junk, now they tell us that we gotta live without it. The country is going straight into the dumper.
There's a devil inside, and he don't play. Up in the morning, out on the job, work like the devil for my pay. Lucky old son has nothing to do but roll around heaven all day. Fuss with my woman, toil for my kids, sweat till I'm wrinkled and gray. Lucky old son has nothing to do but roll around heaven all day. My soul is tired and my sad heart's aching. The joy and hope all gone. There's no relief for a back that's breaking. Misery lingers on. So many troubles. Can't go on living this way, while that lucky old son, he got nothing to do but roll around heaven all day, all day. Would you hear my plea, good Lord above? Can't you know I'm pining? The tears all in my eyes. Send down that cloud with a silver lining. Lift me to paradise. Show me that river and take me across. Wash all my troubles away. Like that lucky old son. to do. But roll around heaven, oh, roll around heaven, roll around heaven, roll around heaven, all day, roll around heaven all day.
And all the men and women merely players. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They had their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts.
Them that's got shall get, them that's not shall lose. So the Bible says, and it still is news. Mama may have, and Papa may have. God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. And the strong seem to get more, while the weak ones fade. Empty pockets don't ever made the grade, 'cause Mama may have, oh, your Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. Money you got, lots of friends crowded outside your door. When your money's gone and all that spending ends, they won't be around anymore. No, your rich relations may give you a crust of bread and such. They'll tell you help yourself, but don't take too much, 'cause Mama may have, may have. God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. Take it uptown, man. Woo. Get the salsa. people, they're crowded outside your door. But when your money's gone and all that stands, they won't be around anymore. You won't find them anywhere. Your rich relations may give you a crust of bread and such. They'll tell you help yourself, but don't take too much, as Mama may have. I know your Papa may have. God bless the child who can stand up and say, oh Lord, I've got my own. Yes, every child in this world got to have his own. Yeah. Thank you very much. Did that take you back to the 60s?
If progressives control the states, government can continue to exert their control over the populace. Look at the difference between red and blue states and how much control the government took during the COVID-19 crisis. Can you now see the progressives' plan for creating a new world order?
So today at the lunch table, when the topic of gender and genitals came up,
The topic of gender and genitals came up with preschoolers.
You have no idea how to defend a nation. All you did was weaken a country today, Kathy. That's all you did. You put people's lives in danger. Sweet dreams, son.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth! Oh, yeah, I'd like to ask for a recess. You can't handle the truth!
I think we've covered this, haven't we?
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to. You can't handle the truth. Are we clear, Colonel? You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth. Are we clear? You can't handle the truth. I'm being charged with a crime? I'm gonna rip the eyes out of your head! You with the wrong Marine! As the blood runs black, drinks will pour. As the flames get higher and higher. This is the new way, just another war. This is the new war. Just another war.
There you go. Well, can you explain to me what the Cloward-Piven strategy is?
Acorn was created in order to implement the Cloward-Piven strategy. And the Cloward-Piven strategy is to overwhelm the government with demands for service.
It's very simple. The idea that there could be a kind of welfare policy where generation after generation stayed on it, nobody cared whether the people got a job, and you were paid for having kids, didn't exist until the late 60s. A lot of people seem, understandably, to think that that's the way welfare always was. It was that way for a good 30 years. That only started then. There's a reason why when you read a novel about the black poor in say, the 1930s or 40s, that welfare is generally mentioned once or twice. It was hard to get on, it barely paid you enough to eat, and social workers were always trying to get you off it. And this counted for whites as well as blacks. So we're not talking about welfare as a racial issue in the 30s or 40s. But starting in the late 60s, welfare was expanded by those Columbia social workers.
We are a threat to this oligarchic, plutocratic order, and we're proud to be a threat.
Last question and comment from you, Francis.
Does it make me not write articles in the Nation magazine? No. Did it stop Cornell and I from organizing this national teach-in? Of course not.
The Cloward-Piven strategy was the brainchild of Columbia University sociologist Richard Andrew Cloward and his wife, Frances Fox Piven. Both Cloward and Piven were longtime members of the Democratic Socialists of America, and Piven is an honorary chairman of the Democratic Socialists of America today. Yes, the same Democratic Socialists of America that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a faithful member of. Cloward and Piven first proposed their strategy in May of 1966 in the liberal magazine The Nation, titled The Weight of the Poor, A Strategy to End Poverty. In the article, they explained their master plan for destroying our capitalistic republic. You see, their greatest problem when it came to defeating capitalism was that capitalism was so successful. By comparison, the prospect of socialism would be a hard sell unless it were proposed as an answer to a collapsed capitalistic system. So, put simply, the Cloward-Piven strategy was to socially engineer the collapse of capitalism by overloading the government bureaucracy with a flood of impossible economic and social welfare demands, thus pushing society into crisis and economic collapse. Their plan was to infiltrate and use the Democrat Party that was already prone towards expanding the social welfare system.
The objective here is to get everybody on the dole.
The strategy is to put as many people on the welfare entitlement system as possible so that it has to give. It will collapse.
And here it is.
San Francisco Mayor London Breed announced the launch of a new guaranteed income pilot program for the city's trans community.
And Confer's Ella Sogamonian talked to local trans leaders. Ella, how are they reacting to this news?
Well, they tell me that it's been years in the making and that this money, particularly for this community, is so important because when you look at the numbers, trans people are disproportionately more likely to be impoverished.
Decades ago, our dear sister Frances Fox Piven decided that she was going to not just be in solidarity with poor people, but she fell in love with them, which means you stand alongside them.
What he's talking about here is you should also follow Saul Alinsky and Cloward and Piven. Let me explain why. Whether it's Bill Ayers or the radicals from the 60s, they all come out of one philosophy. In a moment, I'll explain how Rudy Giuliani back in 1994 exposed this group. This group is Cloward and Piven's strategy on how to bankrupt America by overwhelming the system. And basically what it is trying to take and give money to the underprivileged, getting them for more and more government grants and grants till you overwhelm the system and you shut down Washington, and basically you're bankrupting America. The next stage of that is to socialize the country.
To qualify for GIFT, applicants have to be 18 and older, be a San Francisco resident, and make $600 or less per month.
Even so, the activists subsequent years continued to rely on the tactics of overloading the system. When public caught on to the welfare scheme, Cloward and Piven simply moved on, applying pressure to other sources of bureaucracy wherever they detected weakness.
Each person will get $1,200 per month to use as they please.
I'm just really thrilled that the city of San Francisco is investing in its trans residents, especially as a community that is extremely vulnerable.
It's actually a great moment because what what is happening is that people are rising up, they're speaking back, they're arguing, and they're putting their bodies on the line for social and economic justice as they perceive it. We need that so badly because our country has become so unequal,
And today we are launching an innovative pilot program.
Thursday, Mountain View became the latest, but probably not the last, California city to offer a guaranteed basic income.
Is about lifting Mountain View families up and out of poverty.
In all, there are 4 similar pilot programs nationwide. Some experts say these efforts throw good money after bad into an ever-growing bureaucracy.
And along with the temporary income, recipients will be connected with a range of services, including mental health care and financial coaching. Applications will be accepted from November 15th through December 15th.
Wow, can you believe this plan was developed in the mid-1960s and the left has been working on this since then? If you look at these 8 steps, their plan is almost complete.
it was a short essay trying to examine why the unemployed were not protesting, why they weren't doing what they had done during earlier periods of very serious unemployment, which was marching, rallying.
Shut the hell up! You're a fascist. Get them to print you a T-shirt with fascist on it.
Right. Professor Piven, we want to thank you for joining us tonight, and of course we hope you're all right, and this is dangerous times, so please take care of yourself. We really appreciate you joining us tonight.
We have to look at the data. If this doesn't work, okay, we'll try something else.
Governor Newsom announcing the appointment of California's first openly transgender judge. Andy Mudrick will serve as a judge on the Sacramento County Superior Court.
The society that puts equality before freedom will end up with neither. The society that puts freedom before equality will end up with a great measure of both.
Of course. I'm not stupid.
We're going to put a link to the Teach-In website at our website and the link to the diagram, too.
Hey, good! Take it away!
Good. Now it is time for our man in Minnesota to take over.
Good morning, saints, and welcome, sinners. This is the Critical Christian Crowd. I'm your laconic lay leader, Lon Linky, live from West Central Minnesota with Margaret and the Moose and all the chatsters who have sauntered on in this morning. Good Morgen und wie geht's, Heiligas? Ja. Good Morgen und wie geht's, Heiligas? Good Morgen und wie geht's, Heiligas? Guten Morgen und wie geht's? Guten Morgen und wie geht's? Guten Morgen und wie geht's? Heiliger. Oh! Yeah. A little joy of the Lord this morning. That's not so bad, is it? Speaking of that, let's do things the right way this morning. Since we're going to be talking about doing things the right way and doing things the wrong way for the next 60 minutes. Thank you, Lord, for the great opportunity to contend for the faith this morning, to be able to separate truth from lies. And we can only do that through your Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Well, I hope things are well in your neck of the woods. I like these because the whole offering moves itself. It just moves itself right along. But the overwhelming message here this morning, at least from a critical perspective, is this, is that we have to love God first, right? Above and beyond any other person, place, or thing. You have to love God first. And then you have to love your neighbor. Now that includes your enemies, but for the slower members of the congregation, of the audience, of the Spoudazo Ecclesia, That includes loving your neighbor. So you put all three down. You got to love God first, love your neighbor second, and love your enemy. And we're going to be talking about loving our enemies this morning because this thing is, wow. This thing is bizarre. And like I said, listen, there's a lot of nonsense and garbage and mess that's gone on in America that you, me, us, we had no idea about. Now, I'm pretty sure that everybody, well, not everybody, I don't know. I had never heard of Cloward-Piven before and their strategy, whatever that mess is. They actually have a strategy? Yeah. Uh-huh. They have a strategy. Unbelievable. Let's see if I can find it. Nope. Margaret, you got any hold music? Since I'm doing your job this morning looking for that banner. Ugh, it's Sunday. What are you going to do, saints? A little patience, a little faith, you know. You got a cookie jar for a... Thank you. So I had never heard of it before. I was familiar with Bill Ayers and that mess out of the 60s and the Black Panthers and Angela Davis and some of the other cuckoo late 60s, early 70s philosophical activist, quantum scientists taking LSD and psychopsilocybins way back then. And they were. But now it's all manifesting. And that just is, to me, it's a beautiful thing. I'm glad that they're not hiding anymore. I'm glad they're just walking up and down the main street with all their junk hung out, just throwing all their business out there wherever you can get it. That's a good thing. This makes this very easy to do. So this old war bat, this old battle axe, this old highly educated, this is the smarty pants educational intellectual supremacy gangster. This is her. I think she's still alive. I didn't check this morning, but at her age you'd almost have to check daily to see whether she's still breathing God's blessed air in her lungs, whether she still possesses warm blood or not. But that's her. That's Frances Fox Piven. And she and her husband. I noticed that she has a completely separate last name from her husband, who is also a professor, by the way. Very good, Margaret. Two fancy pants, super gray matter, philosophical activists, married to one another, university professors, but they have completely different last names. I know what you're going to say. Say it. Just say it. The ultimate power mama. The ultimate power mama. I don't know whether she had any children or not. I don't know. I didn't research back that far. I would pray God, well, I wouldn't want to keep them from being fruitful and multiplying, because that's why I ran that first panel the first time. We got to love our enemies. And these people, obviously, by their own admission, not mine, I'm just making observations about what they have said, what they have written, what they have executed, what they have perpetrated throughout America since 1965. I was 8 years old. Do the NASA math. I'm an old guy. Then there was a lot of radical progressivism, liberalism mess going on in the late 60s. Matter of fact, that was the last time the country had been so out of control until 2020, when all the Antifas and the BM lesbians gathered, collected around the river to do that voodoo that they do so well. The 60s was wild, but I was too young. I was a paper boy, so I read the headlines every morning for a couple of years. It was a mess. But unbeknownst to us, and I'm sure that they infiltrated at quite a quiet original position, because you don't dump 8 rules to Not overthrow the government, overwhelm the government. That is amazing to me. Listen, Satan is a sneaky, he's slippery, he's subtle. Slide right in there and almost call it what it is, but if he called it what it is, then everybody go, wait, well, we're not going to allow that. So let's change the words a little. Let's do that vernacular voodoo that we do so well, and they do it. Amazing, just amazing. So before we get too deep into this thing, and this is just listen, if you want to learn something about American history, fine. If you don't, shuffle on. But it does have ramifications for what we're doing right now and what we're experiencing right now, and not frightening for the rest of the world, but not frightening for Christians is they're one step away. They have fully executed this plan. Here, let me quit talking and I'll put up the panel. We go over the panel first, and then I've got that Nehemiah Reset clip, which for some odd reason they animated with an AI voice, and the grammar wasn't very good in it either. But the message, the intent, oops, I got a little French beret going on there this morning, is good. It's quality. It's very laconic. It's to the point. You got to pay attention, and it goes quick. All right? So, just to run over it real quick, this was the goal. This is the whole strategy of Cloward-Piven, written in 1965. That was before men landed on the moon. That's right, Margaret. That was before the men landed on the moon. And once they killed the leader of the free world, his brother, two spiritual leaders, and then convinced the entire globe that they landed men on the moon, they could pretty much do whatever they want. And they did. So here we go. Control the health care. Control the health care. What did we just see in 2020? Controlling the health care. And now they're trying to do it every single day of your long-legged life. Make a long-legged sailor your long-legged wife. They're trying to do it right now. And they've been doing it for 2 years. Here in Minnesota, they couldn't get that chip in your forehead or right hand fast enough. And the nurses are going on strike, and everybody, we're going to control that. We're going to have this conversation in Minnesota. It's a mess. And the health care in Minnesota is good. It's wonderful. And believe me, from a guy who knows, they take care of the poor. They do take care of the poor. But the question and the end result of the strategy of Cloward and Piven was to overwhelm the system, overwhelm it. Now, I don't know. It seems, you can make a general observation and look out over God's static breadth realm, open your front door and see exactly what's going on out there. It would take a blind man with a deaf dog not to figure this one out. But they want to control the health care. They want to increase poverty, okay? Increase tax, debt, and that includes your personal debt, your credit card debt, which includes your bankers. You knew they'd have their grimy little fingers in there somewhere. Gun control. I'll give you a little clue. That's the last one they're waiting on.
That wasn't a clue. That was the answer, you dumb. Why does anybody watch this dumb thing? This is the stupidest stink bomb.
Worst audio engineer in the world. Worst. So they want to control the guns, and they are. And they've started. They've just started. Canada, they're no, I don't have time for Canada's mess. Control food, housing, and income. Well, why? That's the second part of today's little message from the box, from the studio loft, is they've already introduced universal base income to America. Was I sleeping?
You must have been sleeping. You sleep too much.
You sleep all the time and shut it, Margaret. She's just a cookie jar, that's all. I don't even know. Yeah, but they want to control the food, the housing, and your income. Well, how could they control your income? Oh, they just give you your income. And they introduced it, as you will see a little bit later on, in today's blessed Sunday offering, that they start with the lowest denominator in the economic societal equation. The poorest of the poor, the weakest of the weak. And guess who, by their own admission, not me saying it, attention all AI algorithm bots. You have our attention. Believe me, you have our attention. It's the transgender community. We just did this thing on them yesterday, and this is why it ties in. But your good T of the Let God Be True queers, the T, according to studies, they're impoverished. Of that entire group, they're the ones who are going to be most impoverished. What? They're going to be poor too? They don't like themselves. They want to change their gender, and now they're going to be poor too? That would make sense. You know, at some point, you have to self-examine. You have to look inside and go, why am I doing this? Anyway, we know that if there's no love, there's no self-examination. None. And they don't. And this is where this program, I'm getting ahead of myself, but you'll see it hook turns back. 48 different programs. Universal base income. They've changed it. Guaranteed base income. Oh, guaranteed. Wow. That's nice. And you know how greedy Americans are. As soon as the T in the Let God Be True queers gets their money, the rest of America, especially Obama's babies, are going to be screaming, "Where's my money? Where's my money? Where's my stuff?" And guess what? Uncle Samantha will be right there to dole it out, to get the big can of government cheese whiz and squirt it all over them. And they'll like it. Forgive me, Lord. That was a terrible mental image of that community with cheese whiz sprayed all over them. All right, but it's coming. Control education. Number 6. Control education. That's what we went over yesterday. What, high school? No, earlier. What, junior high school? No, earlier. Elementary? No, earlier. What, preschool? Daycare? Teach them as soon as the power mama doesn't want to take care of her children anymore and dumps them off at Consuelo and K. Martina's House of Babies, pedophile prison camp. Yeah. They're just going to start feeding them all this nonsense. Control the education. Rewrite the history. First everything. This is the first this. This is the first that. This is the first this. This is the first that. They're rewriting history. And then remove Christianity. They started on that one almost immediately. Getting the Bibles out of the schools. That happened in the 60s. And then just remove it from society. Just remove it. And they're doing a good job. They've certainly weakened the church. They haven't eliminated it completely. But they're trying hard. And then, of course, what we're seeing today, just in full-blown, I mean, it doesn't get any more crystal and clear that they've separated the classes. All sorts of people they put against each other. They put the left against the right in the political arena. They put the homosexuals versus the heterosexuals in the sexual arena, whatever that means. They put good teachers against bad teachers. Union teachers against non-union teachers. That's one way to put it. Work for the union label. Workers of the world unite. Workers of the world unite. That's the old communist cry. That's the communist cry. I know that one. I'm telling you, one of these days, I'm just going to slide her out on the ice and pray for a 100-degree day. That's not true. I wouldn't do that. And that's it. So, that's the list Hopefully it just settles in your brain, so when people think, why is this all good? Why is this going on? This is why. I'll add a couple more to it as well. They always, and it always starts at the top in the government, federal government. It always does. What do they say? You want to kill the snake, you got to cut the head off the snake. Now, I don't know what that means. Yes, I do. But you have to recognize what they're doing. I think in 1982 they passed the Glass-Steagall Act. All right? I might be off on what year it was. But the Glass-Steagall Act gave the banks just full run of whatever. They get to do whatever they want to do. They were restricted before that time. That was Glass-Steagall. Money, power, abilities to move. And then the Smith-Mundt Act dropped all of the propaganda, anti-propaganda rules and regulations for the mass media that they were held to. They were held to a non-propaganda status. Well, they removed that. So they're just free to say whatever they want. Government. And now this one, Cloward-Piven, a strategy that they have long been working on. And it's a socialist democratic party. I don't want to go back and source, another position in history that wasn't much more than, a little less than 100 years ago. But when you have had a socialist democratic party in Germany, in the Mutter country, ja. Mach schnell bitte. We are number 3 in the political parties. Okay, so you go away. You go sit down over there, Mr. Adolf. I don't want to sit down. I am a social democrat. I am of the people. I am for the people. But you go sit down, Mr. Adolf. I don't want to say the H word. He wouldn't sit down. He wouldn't sit down. He had convinced the people. As crazy as that sounds, with all of his with all that, he convinced the Germans that this was a good idea. Amazing. So now here in America, we get to see the same thing. Same thing. And what is the last thing they want? Really? Once they get the guns, it's all over. Just all over. This ridiculous, well, you don't need an AK-47 to hunt a deer. Yeah, you ever been out in the woods with me before? I'm a terrible shot. I need every opportunity at wounding, killing, cleaning, and eating my dinner for the night. Who are you to tell me which gun I can and cannot use? Sit down, Senator. But that's it. All right, let's run this Nehemiah reset real quick, all right? Enjoy.
1. Healthcare. Control healthcare and you control the people. The left is trying to get to a single-payer healthcare system implemented today. 2. Poverty. Increase the poverty level as high as possible. Poor people are easier to control and will not fight back if you are providing everything for them to live. Isn't this why the left is putting more and more people on the welfare or government payment systems? 3. Debt. Increase the debt to an unsustainable level. That way you are able to increase taxes, and this will produce more poverty. Didn't we just pass a multiple trillion-dollar spending bill and more is being proposed? Is there a wonder why this is happening? 4. Gun control. Remove the ability to defend themselves from the government. That way you are able to create a police state. This has been the desire of the left for many years and now is again being proposed. 5. Welfare. Take control of every aspect of their lives, for example, food, housing, and income. Again, for the reason of controlling the masses. 6. Education. Take control of what people read and listen to and also take control of what children learn in school. The left has taken over control of the education system and our kids are being indoctrinated every day. Is there any wonder statues are being destroyed and kids are rioting in order to destroy the culture? 7. Religion. Remove the belief in the God from the government and schools. Prayer was taken out of the school system many years ago and Christians are now viewed as terrorists. Is there any wonder that the left is destroying our religious freedom? 8. Class warfare. Divide the people into the wealthy and the poor. This will cause more discontent and it will be easier to tax the wealthy with the support of the poor. Isn't this the reason that everything is labeled as racist? Its sole purpose is to divide the people and develop class warfare. Wow, can you believe this plan was developed in the mid-1960s and the left has been working on this since then?
Yeah. Developed in the mid-60s. Listen, this plays right into my hypothesis, my scientific hypothesis, that they just rolled this ball right in the mid-60s, 1963 to start. As soon as they could do that voodoo that they do so well on television with the leader of the free world and his assassin, and let that play out on black and white television in 1963, and then got away with, well, I guess he's dead. They just said, okay, let's go. And they started rolling it. All the evidences are here. Everything is right here. I mean, I'm not making stuff up. This is just history. This is what happened. Whether you believe that Oswald was a solo assassin or not, it doesn't matter. End result's still the same. Shot JFK in the head, killed him. Everything changed. Everything changed. And that's not to say that JFK was sugar sweet. I'm getting away from the point. Anyway, that's that. And you say, well, this started in 1963, and then through the 70s it kind of developed and probably got a stronghold. And then, you know, the media that was allowed, and there were a few on the right, Rush Limbaugh for one, back in his crazy entertainment days when he morphed from nothing but an entertainer, a radio entertainer, into taking on, you know, political matters. And it made him a name for himself. And I remember back I can't remember when Rush first came on the air, but he wasn't as popular as he was when his final days came to a close. Rush was a little out there. He had an audience. He had his mega ditto people, right? But he was warning of that back then. And then you come to find out there were a whole lot of people warning about it. Well, here's Russia's thing right here. We'll get back to Obama's babies. It's the same group.
When you are able to vote largesse from the public treasury, you keep these people in power. They're being used. They don't understand they're being used.
The objective here is to get everybody on the dole.
The strategy is to put as many people on the welfare entitlement system as possible so that it has to give. It will collapse.
And here it is, the dirtiest of dirty words to Tea Partiers. Welfare.
Now, that was back then when, really, and it was like the piece from the intro said, the young man, the POC who said, this isn't racial. This isn't racial at all. It just has to do with people being on welfare, white or black. It didn't matter. That back in my day, in the 60s and 70s, you didn't want to be on welfare. You didn't want to be on welfare. It was a black mark on you, and that you wanted to get off of it as soon as possible. And it was difficult to get, and it barely paid for anything. It was just a temporary fix so you could get back on your feet again. That was the original intent. Listen, I can remember going to church and there were the poor families. Back then, the church helped as well. I mean, our whole society, it's like Archie said, the country's just gone in the dumper. Anyway, so if it started way back in there, you had to have some people helping. And how are you going to collect, and how are you going to organize such a radical position to overwhelm the government? Well, you start at the very top. If you can influence your very leaders, your political leaders, your national leaders, and then let that, not to borrow a Reagan term, but I will, trickle down to your state leaders, your local leaders, And like the slow boil on the frog, or the whittling of a stick that'll kill you piece by piece by piece by piece, they've achieved their goal. It's the criminal community. Just tell the criminals that no one understands why they do that voodoo that they do so well. No one understands why you hijack cars and steal catalytic converters and rape and pillage and plunder and murder and do fentanyl and try to pass counterfeit money and then not comply with the police when they show up, why you're a dredge of society, and then you get a monument built to you. What?
What?
I'm your huckleberry. Yeah, exactly. It's right there. Am I making stuff up? No, it's right there. I live in Minnesota. I can drive 90 miles from here and show you the big, beautiful monument of George Pink Floyd the Barber Foreman, whatever his name is. We don't glorify criminals here at the Critical Christian Crowd. Pray for them. Love them. We don't glorify them, though. We don't hold them up to a higher order. So it's that criminal community. And then in the 1960s, as soon as they started convincing, and I know I've got some port on this one as in regards to infiltration of the churches, be it Catholic, be it Methodist, be it Protestant, be it Seventh-day Adventist, be it whatever you want to pick. They let sin into the church. Sin was in the 1960s and 70s. There was some wild stuff going on, sexually speaking. People were still going to church, though. This is where that once saved, always saved ridiculous doctrine came in. As long as I go to church once a week and listen to that 20-minute message and not fall asleep, then I'm good. Okay, can you punch my Jesus card for me when I leave? Thank you. I'll be back next week, maybe. Sad. The church lost its power. The church lost its authority, its ability to stand up and do what is right instead of what is necessary. Well, but we've got to do this for these people. They can't run their own lives. And how many times have we heard that narrative coming out of the left party? They're not smart enough. They're not smart. You're not smart enough. You don't have internet service. You don't have education. You don't have any of these things. You're downtrodden. That's a terrible message to give to anybody. Listen, this is 2022. You have literally every answer to every question at the tip of your fingers, right there and right there. Dare I say, you don't need teachers anymore. You need a strong will of God to be led to the truth and someone as a child to guide you there. That's it. Like I said, I think the days of government-controlled public education, I think they're over. I mean, they're not going to be over until enough people stand up and say, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this anymore. And if you don't do it, if you don't stand up, how's that song go? Then you can kiss my goodbye. Yeah, and it'll be gone. That's why I say the parents and grandparents need to be teaching their children and grandchildren one of two things. Either stand up and defend and contend for the faith and what is right versus what is wrong, or just comply. Just comply. It's easier that way. They won't disturb your stuff. Just comply. I found this morning too. This was good. And this is really what it comes down to. You're either going to conform to the system, or you're going to hold a sense of what is right and wrong. And that's an easy definition. This is as laconic as it gets. Conformity is doing what everybody is doing, regardless of whether it's right or not. You just do it. You conform. Immorality is doing what is right, regardless of what everybody else is doing. This old bag of bones. Nothing but unrest. And you know what? I wish there was something new under the sun, but there isn't. Fancy pants, intellectual supremacists, college professors. I went to college in 1976, I think. I went for about a year and a half. I couldn't take it anymore. Just nonsense. But before I went in, both of my parents said, listen, this isn't high school anymore. You're going to have independent thought and creative thinkers and all sorts of stuff that's going to be presented to you. It's up to you, now that you're an adult, to be able to tell the difference between right and wrong. If you have any questions, give us a call. We're moving to Minnesota. And they did.
Your parents ran away from home?
Yes, my parents ran away from home. We lived in Iowa, and then one day I came home, and they said, you need to pack your bags. We're moving to Minnesota. I love that story. Yeah. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, but that was it. My dad said, you got some crazy professors that are going to tell you some crazy stuff. You can listen to them, but you're there to debate, to expand your consciousness. My dad didn't say that, but that's what it was. My mother had graduated from the same university I attended about, 15 years prior. Yeah. She even had a name of a professor to look out for. Turned out he was my favorite professor, not because of his ideology, not because of his political activism, and believe me, he was very vocal. But he was my English teacher. I couldn't avoid him. Had to take him. And I loved studying English. And he was good. He was very good. Probably dead now. But if you don't, that's why I say, I don't know how you can send your children to university now without a solid foundation of morality, at least morality. If not faith in God, knowing the difference between right is wrong. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Even if I have my own children who were firm in the word, strong in their faith, had already been born again, you still send them into battle with the full armor of God on and tell them, it's a battle out there. It's a wicked, wicked realm. You're going to have to fight. Spiritually, you're going to have to fight. Contend for the faith. I don't know that many parents do that with their children anymore. And if they don't, then they're susceptible to all of this nonsense, this garbage, this crap on a cracker, and they quickly become stupid soup eaters. It's like Neil said, people think that we just open the top of their heads and pour science in, and that's all it takes. That's exactly what you do. You pour in the science. And now, like I said, if I'm not telling the truth, go outside, open your front door, and see what you see. Turn on the propaganda box. Well, we're going to follow the science, and the experts say, we're going to follow the science, and the experts say, we're going to follow the science, and the experts say, where'd you get all that knowledge? Is it right, or is it wrong? Is it of God, or is it of the devil? Does it make sense, or is it highly suspect? I don't know. Well, anyway, that's that. But after Rush and all that, then came the Tea Party days. See, this is why I say this isn't a simple little strategy that kind of was introduced at a collegiate level and it was tossed around, the state of Illinois or Chicago or whatever, and then just kind of went away. No, it permeated the land. It went throughout. It was hammered home. So good men of honor, good men of dignity, good men of character would stand up from time to time and say, this is wrong, this is bad. You're going to see a shining example of that here in a couple of clips. But this is from the not the post-Rush days, because Rush had a long career. But anyway, this is when Rudy Giuliani finally said, no, well, I see what you're doing here. We're not going to let it happen. And Giuliani cleaned up New York. Because don't forget, they want the criminals out of control. They don't want them to have bond. They don't want them in prison. They want to overwhelm the system. Here we go.
What he's talking about here is you should also follow Solinsky and Cloward-Piven. Let me explain why. Whether it's Bill Ayers or the radicals from the 60s, they all come out of one philosophy. In a moment, I'll explain how Rudy Giuliani back in 1994 exposed this group. This group is Cloward-Piven's strategy on how to bankrupt America by overwhelming the system. And basically what it is trying to take and give money to the underprivileged, getting them for more and more government grants and grants till you overwhelm the system and you shut down Washington, and basically you're bankrupting America. The next stage of that is to socialize the country.
Yeah, the next step is to socialize the country. Socialism. Well, that's what they're screaming about. That's what they want. That's what your squad is all about. AOC and Ilhan Omar Akbar. That whole mess of power mama women. Out of control. And to think that it started with this little bitty granny lady over here is amazing to me. Just amazing to me. And here was my question, too. Here was my question. What did they think that America was going to do? Just lay down and take it? See, this is an overwhelming theme with the left as well. They parade their nonsense out on the streets, whether they're wearing lime green thongs and underwear and that mess that they do in their parade, or whether they're sending the youth of America out in masks and urine bottles and destroying and vandalizing and looting and doing that, or whether they're sending out the angry, godless, fatherless criminal communities into the street to pillage and plunder and burn and destroy and murder. It doesn't matter. See, they got all those groups together. What did they think Americans were just going to lay down and take it? That's why I say nobody wants to talk about, I mean, they're talking about a civil war. No one wants to imagine, like science loves to do, what that would look like. Not very pretty. I don't think anybody wants that. But you either reel in these insane strategies and ideologies, you either rein them in or they're going to run wild. That's what you do with a horse. You catch it, and then you train it, and then it runs well. But it takes a lot of training and a lot of bucking and a lot of bruised body parts and broken bones to train a wild horse. Horse doesn't want to be trained. I don't know whether that was a good analogy or not. I thought it was good. Thank you, Lord. Yeah, you can't let them run wild in the streets, and that's what they've been doing. Back in the 60s? Yeah, the 60s and 2 years ago. And they want to do it again. They're just waiting for something else to fall. Now listen, my brothers and sisters, we all know that we're one big event away. One. Whether it's a natural disaster event, whether it's the result of all these countries having spaceships flying around all over, all above us. Where are they going? What are they doing? I don't know. Whether it's wars and rumors of wars, it's coming. We all know it's coming. You just slip into eschatologically.
Stop. Roll tape. Stop it.
Eschatology. Thank you. This always happens when I try to use a fancy-pants gangster expositor word. It doesn't fall out of my mouth correctly. Eschatorally speaking. I'm not a fancy-pants. Yeah, but it's all in there. It's all in there. It's in Matthew 24. It's in Luke 21. It's in Mark 13. Saying to you, I say unto all, watch. And then Jesus came around Patmos and said, yeah, it's coming. And I'm coming too. So, like I said, you gotta find some joy in this. Because it's almost over. They got one step to go. What's the last step? Get the guns. Leave yourself defenseless. What do you need an AK-47 for? People who come knocking at my door that I don't want to come knocking at my door. That's what I need it for. All right. I'm way over the button on Sunday. But it's necessary and it has to be said. This, because you see the fruit of their labors, their efforts. You see the fruit.
Is it good fruit?
No, it's not good fruit. It's terrible fruit. It's awful fruit. It's the fruit from the tree of good and evil, the tree of knowledge. And they went in at midnight. They keep going in at midnight and doing all this. This is starting to sound biblical, too. Well, you guys couldn't stay awake? You couldn't stay awake and pray?
Sorry, Jesus. We'll stay awake now.
45 minutes later. You guys couldn't stay awake? You couldn't pray?
Did we fall asleep again? Okay, we'll do it this time.
No, never mind. Never mind. Paraphrasing scripture. Yeah. You got to be aware. You got to be aware. And the fruit of the 1965 Cloward-Piven strategy is this.
The Guaranteed Income for Trans People, also known as GIFT, is a new program that will benefit 55 transgender people living in San Francisco for more than a year. Mayor London Breed has dedicated money from the general fund for the pilot program, spearheaded by Lion Martin Community Health Services and the Transgender District. Each person will get $1,200 per month to use as they please.
I'm just really thrilled that the city of San Francisco is investing in its trans residents, especially as a community that is extremely vulnerable.
Excuse me, I had to run to the bathroom quick. Yeah, and you heard what he said. The trans community is extremely vulnerable. These are vulnerable people. Okay. They're vulnerable. Did they do it to themselves? Well, see, it's the Ouroboros. It's the Ouroboros. It's the snake that eats itself. I don't like myself, so I want to be completely opposite. Now I'm completely opposite, and I'm impoverished. I'm weak. Well, what did you want? You fell out of God's natural order. Of course you're going to be weak. What do you think? You're going to get blessings? No. You'll get the nonsense that Satan throws you. And now it looks like it's coming in the form of this guaranteed base income, UBA or UBI, universal base income, and they're going to get it. And according to that little news blurb right there, 48 of these programs have already been introduced throughout the United States of America. But what? San Francisco, this other town that they mentioned here. Yeah, it's all over the place, and it's coming. It's coming. It's the old weed and money. Give them free weed and free money, and video games. They're not going anywhere. Why would you want to go to work? Hey, did my weed get here? Yeah, it came in your government cheese container.
Did my money come?
It's been deposited directly into your bank account.
I don't have to go to work?
You do not have to go to work. You do not have to go to work.
I get to play my games all day?
You get to play your video games all day long.
Okay. Okay there, Mr. Light in the Loafers Fancy Pants there. You just go into your bedroom and close the door and play your metaverse video games and get your government cheese and your check and your universal base income and your government weed. That'll be fun. I remember in the late 60s, far before I was even a young adult, the paraquat scare. The government has sprayed paraquat in all of the marijuana fields in Mexico. So if you smoke marijuana, you will die. You will get paraquat. I see the mixed messages, too. But do you want us to smoke weed or you don't want us to smoke weed? Well, we're going to arrest a bunch of you first, and then we're going to tell you it's great. Oh, okay. What is that, an Isaiah passage you're using there? What was once bitter is now sweet? Uh-huh. You're not supposed to read that Bible. Oh, we thought we got rid of all those things. No. Some of us still have our Bibles. Anyway, that's that. The great news in this, and it's not without a few good men taking some hits. I don't know what kind of hit Rush Limbaugh took on this exposing the Cloward-Piven strategy. I don't know. I do know that there were two men who took big hits. One was Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck this drove him nuts. And I listen to Glenn Beck as much as I listen to the propaganda box. Not much. Bill O'Reilly's way out in left field. He's gone. Gatekeeper. But I think Beck still has some sense to him. But he took a hit. And then, how come Glenn Beck's not on the mainstream media anymore? Oh, there were some complications in his contract, and we couldn't get together. Whatever the reasons were. To me, it just seems like one of those things that, like Norm Macdonald getting fired from Saturday Night Live because he wouldn't leave O.J. alone. And the head of the network was best friends with O.J. You're fired. Same sort of deal. You got people in media at the top who are friends with these minions, these underlings of chaos and destruction, and you start speaking the truth, you can kiss your goodbye. And they did. Keith Olbermann was another one. Listen, when Olbermann was on ESPN, he was the original Stephen A. Because Olbermann was very outspoken, and he was all over the charts. He was a provocateur. That was his thing. But every once in a while, a squirrel finds his own nuts. A clock is right twice a day. And Olbermann certainly called this one perfectly.
An article that was on the Nation blog at the end of December. It was published in their January 10th issue, and it was a short essay trying to examine why the unemployed were not protesting, why they weren't doing what they had done during earlier periods of very serious unemployment, which was marching, rallying.
Shut the hell up! You're a fascist. Get them to print you a T-shirt with fascist on it.
Right. Professor Piven, we want to thank you for joining us tonight, and of course we hope you're all right. And this is dangerous times, so please take care of yourself. We really appreciate you joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Look, did you see that old bat go? Oh, what? He can't say that to me. He can't call me a fascist and tell me to have it printed on a T-shirt and expect me to wear a T-shirt around in public calling me a fascist. He can't do it. That's probably where I might be a fascist, but you're a racist. Oh, by the way, if you didn't know, we're all racist, by the way. That came over the AP wire the other day. We're all racist, and we're all gay. So get used to it. My thanks to Door 23 Productions for that. And that's beautiful. But Olbermann got fired, too. Was it because of that? I don't know. Glenn Beck get fired because of Francis Fox Piven? I don't know. Rush, may he rest in peace? I don't know. Yeah, but that's that, right? I think that's it. That quote at the end of the intro, and that was really good. You know, a society that wants equality instead of freedom will lose both. A society that wants freedom before equality will have a great measure of both. Listen, the BIBLE is crystal clear on this. There's an order, there's a flow. You have to do things the right way, and if you don't, and if you get out of order, you're headed for big, big trouble. Listen, this is the simple, easy gospel of Jesus Christ. Know the truth, know the difference between right and wrong, And once you do, that truth will set you free. Will set you free. That's why I say as Christians, we take a look at that whole group. Let's look at this list one more time. This whole list. And it grieves your heart. It grieves your soul. They could all come out of that mess. They could all come out of it. Be still, trust in the Lord, and all things will be provided. Poor people should know that. They should know that. Turn to the Lord, not the world. The world's not going to help you. The world wants you down there. As we heard, the world needs you down there. Same thing with the illegal aliens that are crossing the border. You should have stayed home. You should have been still. You should have trusted in the Lord and had all things added. Instead, you're running to the greener grass on the other side of the fence. Well, until you accept that truth, there is no green grass. There's blood to the bridles. All of them. That whole list. But nobody ever does that. Nobody ever preaches truth. No one ever preaches Holy Ghost. No one ever preaches Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Sad. And the fact that the sin is in church is on that list, that's the biggest abomination of it all. And America should be ashamed. America should be ashamed of itself. I don't know whether church pastors, American church pastors, are going to finally get it or not after what they did in the 2020, 2021 with keeping their congregants out of their brick and mortars. Should have given everybody a pretty good idea that it's just they're bought, paid for, shuffled around. They get a good salary. They don't pay any taxes. They get a house. They get cars. Listen, that American greed thing just kills me. The fact that if I can make money on it, I'm going to make money on it. Damn the righteousness of it all. Oh, that's not a good position to be in. But they do it. They love their prosperity. They love their health. They love their comfort. They're afraid of dying, but they go to church every week. That's what I say. If you're reaching out, if you're seeking God, if you're seeking the kingdom of God and His right way first, get alone with the Lord. Make time to get alone. Just make time to get alone. And be still. Be still. All right. I think we're done, Margaret. I noticed you put your Russian barabushka beat hat on. It's 30 degrees outside. Why do you have that big Russian toque on for? Because we're going to get 2 feet of snow. Tell everybody we're going to get 2 feet of snow. We're going to get 2 feet of snow. I don't think we are. But I think northwestern Minnesota will. But here in Minnesota, if you don't get snow, it's kind of like everybody's disappointed. Wow, we didn't get any snow. I didn't get to shovel for 3 hours. Darn it. I didn't run my car in a ditch today. I still got way too much Southern in me. If I never saw another day of white frozen stuff fall out of the clouds, the snow-filled clouds, that'd be fine with me. All right, I'm done. I'm just rambling now. All right. Yeah. I don't know. I've said enough. Margaret, give me some music. Let me get out of here. It was a nice-looking chat this morning. Yeah. Interesting, to say the least. This is your silent moment of, I don't know what I'm doing.
Why don't you fix that? You complain about it every day. Just fix it.
I'd rather hear you whinge, Margaret. Gives me a chance to collect my thoughts just for a second. And let everyone know that there is no audio engineer. There is no producer. There's no director. There's no floor manager. There's no janitor. There's no CEO, CFO, or COO. No cuckoo cachoo here. Just your big old fat stinky fisherman. How about that? All right. Very good. Let's go into the chat here real quick. God bless and take care. Man, that's isn't that a great name for a channel? It just rolls off your tongue perfectly. God bless and take care. Good to see you. Sour Apples, good morning. Mrs. E, thank you for being here this morning. Pamela G, my peachy Pamela G, a local gal. Pamela G, nice to see you here this morning. Prayers for a journey south for a bit? Consider it done. Consider it done, Miss G. Good to see you there. I was in Minnesota News Now. I think he's changed it to live on scene now instead of live on patrol. Because law enforcement was having a problem with him sticking a camera in their faces. It's okay for them to stick a camera in our faces, but as soon as somebody sticks a camera in their faces, they don't like it. How's it feel? Good for Minnesota News Now and Jason and the Mod Squad, of which Pamela is a part, and Gray Dude in there. Yaz Will Soren is in here this morning. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Tony Forrester, good. Things are better. Well, with Tony, that's a good thing. See? Prayer works. AJ's in here this morning. Good morning, AJ. I always forget somebody. I just don't want to make this a list of going. Our Lady from Spain, Ms. B, is in here. West Coast Watchman is here this morning. Gary Towner. If you don't say anything late in the chat, you might get missed. Sunny side up, Princess Natasha from Jakarta, Indonesia. Thank you for our international flavor to this little least watched, least viewed vlogcast podcast in the history of mankind. Yeah, I think that's everybody. The men were out there. Good shooting this morning, boys. Good shooting. Digital shotguns. Them digital street internet whores don't come around. Well, that's what they are. They're whores. That's for another lesson down the line. All right, I think I'm done. All right. May the peace, joy, love, and grace of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ be with you this day and every day. Bye-bye, everybody. See you in church.
Well, I went to church last Sunday so I could sing and pray. But something quite unusual had happened on that day. The church had started right on time, just like it does without a doubt. And everything was all just fine, except when it came time to let us out. And the preacher, he kept preaching. He told us, I have one more thing to say, children, before you think of leaving. You better think about the judgment day. Everyone got nerves, because everyone was hungry too. And everyone was wondering what was the next thing he would do. And the preacher kept preaching. He said, now I'll remind you if I may, you all better pay attention. I might decide to preach all day. Everyone was getting so hungry that the old one started feeling ill and the weak one started passing out. The young one's feet could not sit still. The preacher's voice rose. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I snuck up to the balcony and I crept into the choir. And I begged him, brothers, sisters, help me please. I said, when I give you a signal, I said, when I raise up my hands, won't you please join me together? Praise the Lord, I have a plan. And the preacher kept preaching. And long is the struggle, hard to fight. And I pray, Father, please forgive me. And I stood up and with all my might sang to the Lord, praises be. It's time for turning around, let's go. Got some beans and some good cornbread. Listen to what the preacher said. Now it's to the Lord, let praises be. It's time for turning around, let's go. Listen, and together sing. I raised up my hands, join with me the choir. For every woman, a child and man sang to the Lord, let praises be. It's time for dinner now, let's go. We got some beans and some good cornbread. Now listen to what the preacher said. Now it's to the Lord, let praises be. It's time for dinner now, let's go. The preacher, he stopped preaching, and a hush, the church did fill. And then a great white dove from up above landed on the windowsill. And the dove looked down beside him. A fork appeared right in his hand. Everybody watching, the preacher ate that bird right there and then. Everyone got really nervous. And the preacher, he did start to glow. And as we watched on in disbelief, these were the words he spoke. I said, Mama's in the kitchen, but she's been there all day. I know she's a cooking something good, so bow your head and pray. Take a song. Sing to the Lord, praise be. It's time for dinner now, let's go. We got some beans and some good cornbread. Listen to what the preacher said. To the Lord, let praises be. It's time for dinner now, let's go. And the moral of this story, children, it is plain but true. God knows if a preacher preaches long enough, even he'll get hungry too. Listen to the Lord, let praises be. It's time for dinner now, let's go. We got some beans and some good cornbread. Listen to what the preacher said. Now it's to the Lord, let praises be. It's time for dinner now, let's go. We got some beans and some good cornbread. Listen to what the preacher said. To the Lord, praises be. It's time for dinner now, let's go. We got some beans and some good cornbread. Listen to what the preacher said. To the Lord, praises be. Got some hot sauce for dinner now, let's go. Where the cornbread? Some good cornbread. I wanna eat listen to what the preacher said. I wanna eat now. Somebody feed me. Some good cornbread. To the Lord, praises be. It's time for dinner now, let's go. We got some beans and some good cornbread. Listen to what the preacher said. To the Lord, praises be. It's time for dinner now, let's go. We got some beans and some good cornbread. Listen to what the preacher said. To the Lord, praises be. It's time for dinner now. Let's go.
I'm gonna tell you about the coming of the judgment fairly well, fairly well. I'm gonna tell you about the coming of the judgment fairly well, fairly well. There's a better day coming fairly well, fairly well. There's a better day coming fairly well, fairly well. In that great getting up morning fairly well, fairly well. In that great getting up morning fairly well, fairly well. When you see the lightning flashing fairly well, fairly well. When you hear the thunder crashing fairly well, fairly well. When you see the stars are falling fairly well, fairly well. And when you hear the chariots calling fairly well, fairly well. In that great getting up morning fairly well, fairly well. In that great getting up morning fairly well, fairly well. When you see the lightning flashing, when you hear the thunder
thunder crashing, when you see the stars are falling, when you hear the chariots calling. Good news, chariots are coming, good news, chariots are coming, so glad. Chariots are coming and I don't want to be left out.
Well, there's a long white robe in the heaven, I know.
Long white robe in the heavens, I know. Long white robe in the heavens, I know. I said good news, chariots are coming, good news, chariots are coming, so glad. Chariots are coming and I don't want to be left out. In that great getting up morning, fairly well, fairly well. In that great getting up morning, fairly well, fairly well. In that great getting up morning, fairly well, fairly well. In that great getting up morning, fairly well, fairly well, fairly well. Fairly well, fairly well, fairly well. In that great getting up morning, fairly well, fairly well. In that great getting up morning, fairly well, fairly well. In that great getting up morning, fairly well, fairly well. In that great getting up morning, fairly well, fairly well, fairly well.
Thanks a lot for searching that out. I appreciate that. Fisherman in the Box. Fisherman in a Box.